Aruba, Jamaica, ooh, I wanna take ya. Bermuda, Bahama, come on, pretty mama. Key Largo, Montego, baby, why don't we go? 'Cause we can't. We're in quarantine.
Once again, we're searching the inner tube for all the best coronavirus songs out there, and they just keep adding up. There's so many. You can bring that out. Bring that out. Take that music out. Goodbye. Welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Becky Malek. You know, you can only stand about 30 seconds of any of these songs. Some of them are really good. What I've realized is that a lot of people really don't know how to do parody. You got to do a parody that scans, and it has to sort of you can't just go with a whole new batch of words. It has to refer to the old song somehow. I'm going to teach these kids how to do parodies, although some of them are really, really good.
That we can just send them a Weird Al link.
Or we could just say to them,
what?
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
All right, there we go. And we get that on the show here. In fact, we don't have a lot of time. We've got so many guests on today. We got to get right to it. And sitting there on the Zoom machine, and she's learning all about Zoom the hard way, is Kim. Is it Eierman? Is that how you
It is Eierman, like fireman.
Okay, I like that. Kim Eierman, and you get a ding there, who's the founder of Benefiel. You can find that website if you go to my website, MikeNovak.net. I've got the blog post up there, and you can read all about her new book, The Pollinator Victory Garden, Win the War on Pollinator Decline with Ecological Gardening. Right, and that's, the best.
We all have one.
We all have one. This is going to be the
Thank you to
screenshot.
Steve, who sent these to us.
Hold yours up again, Kim.
Hold
One
on.
more second, because this will be the screenshot when we
My head.
Facebook post here.
There we
So
go.
let's grab it. There we go. And you wrote this before all this nonsense started happening, and yet you must look at the book and, in talking about it, get a resonance with the COVID-19 crisis we're going into, because now we're in crisis, but the pollinators were in crisis long before we were.
Absolutely. I mean, the amount of species loss globally with invertebrates and vertebrates is absolutely astounding, and it's getting worse. But the good news is we can actually do something about it in our own landscapes. So that's why I wrote the book, to really
And say, all right, here are the plants. Why? And
Right.
because you say, okay, here are the insects mostly, and of course you mentioned that it's not just bees that are pollinators.
Mhm.
There are wasps that are there are flies, mosquitoes could be pollinators,
pause. Yeah,
beetles.
things.
Even human beings are pollinators to some extent.
There's a lot of hand pollinate. There are some regional, you in Chicago or somebody in California, and you in New York, and you in the Southwest, the same plant palette doesn't make sense. So I've included a lot of regional information online as an addendum.
I love your addendum, addenda. You've got all kinds of stuff here.
I love the book reading list. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it's a good one, right? There are a lot of great resources out there.
And one of the things I've found lately in interviewing various folks and who've written books like this, I'll tell you, Doug Tallamy was on the show recently, and if you go to the back of his book, he recaps everything he did.
Yeah.
You do the same thing in the book, in your appendix.
And he's one of my personal heroes, by the way.
He should be,
Yeah,
and I tell.
Amazing guy.
He is. He has started a whole new area of research, and this is now going on a dozen years.
Yeah.
And it changed the way I look at gardening. And I'm a disciple now. I go out and try to get that information out to everybody. So in your appendix, which is the back of the book, you could start at the back of the book and then go back through the book and find more about this. You've got 10 tips for a thriving pollinator victory garden. Let me go through those really quick, and then we'll grab we can't do all of them. But one is plant for succession of bloom throughout the growing season. 2, skip double flowered plants. They have little and plants with different flower shapes in your landscape. 8, eliminate pesticides from your garden, also very important. reduce or eliminate your lawn. This is,
I like that one.
we're
Yeah.
hammering that home every day on this show.
I call it the green desert.
And 10, add a pollinator habit sign to
Yeah,
your landscape.
habitat sign, yep.
Why is that so important?
The sign itself, well, I think sometimes when we garden differently, it's helpful for neighbors and friends over winter in the off season, which is something that the United States and nurseries are, please support them. I'm not a big how they've been grown and what's been sprayed on them,
Yeah.
but if you can find a good native plant nursery, particularly ones that are growing from seed for that genetic diversity that's happily, the same way when you go to a farmer's market and you're looking for that special heirloom tomato that's grown organically and you're going to pay more, think about plants that way too, and support these local nurseries, because boy, it's a tough job growing plants and the margins are really thin and they need our help and they need our support.
And we're going to be talking about that later in this hour, about what's going on in Illinois right now. It's, oh boy, with the lockdown and nurseries trying to exist with just having deliveries and pickup, but some box stores are taking advantage of that and they're allowing people to wander into the store, and
because they're hardware stores. That's probably how they're classifying themselves.
well, yeah, and they don't block off those areas, so it's not fair. By the way, before we run out of time, I want to make sure that people know about Benefiel. And as a matter of fact, if you go to my website and you click on the book title, it'll take you to ecobeneficial.com. What's that all about?
So my company is a horticulture communications and consulting company, and my website is set up to educate and inform and actually inspire folks to landscape, to garden a little bit differently. I have a ton of information. I have blog posts, I have video tips. I actually do a podcast series too. There's a ton of information. I have a special page. If you go to ecobeneficial.com/PVG for Pollinator Victory Garden, you see a whole bunch of resources in addition to what you'll read in my book.
And to get to some of these tips, and we can't get through the whole life cycle of bees, and although let me just say that this book, and we'll hold it up again so people can
Here we
see.
go.
I love the fact that it's so much easier on these cameras at home than at the studio to see the book titles.
Yes.
It'll serve as a primer. And yes, it's a primer, not a primer. Primer is what you put on your walls with paint, but a primer is what you use to educate yourself. This is a great primer for people who are not familiar with why pollinators are so important. So I would say pick this up. You're going to learn a ton, and it's going to make you want to go out and change your yard. So tell me just a little bit about doing that research.
Sure. In terms of me doing the research for the book, or?
Well, you know, in terms of pollinators, the focus on the insects and the animals themselves, rather than.
So my book really is an introduction to the many different kinds of pollinators, the ones that you'll likely see and what their needs are, both in terms of habitat, because we have to give these guys a place to live. Just having a floral buffet isn't enough. We actually have to think about where they live and where they overwinter. So I discuss all the different types of pollinators, and then the best practices for any garden, no matter where you are in the United States or frankly globally, the best practices for how to do it. And then to get into the nitty-gritty of plants for your particular region, I do have some plant lists in the back of the book, but I really encourage folks, visit the website, look at the regional plant list information, and please join your native plant society wherever you are, both in the era of read the book. You got to read the book.
We do have a couple of listeners who say they know what they're getting their daughters for Mother's Day.
Fantastic. We'll see.
All right.
Get
all
on
right.
and get the book right now.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
And you can get it wherever fine books are sold. I wish we had more time to talk about this, but this show is jam-packed, and I'm going to just tell people, pick up the Pollinator Victory Garden. It's like the other Victory Gardens. It's not the food Victory Garden. We didn't even get into the idea of how do you plant food and have natives at the same time.
Right, and that's important. You'll get more cross-pollination that way and better yield.
Kim Eierman, thank you. She's from Benefiel. Go to my website, MikeNowak.net, to find information about the Pollinator Victory Garden. Much luck to you.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
The Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We'll be right back.
Hi, y'all. I'm Pamela Pepkin, and you're about to do Pamela Pepkin's quarantine workout. Wash your hands. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Woo! That's great, y'all.
Boy, I'm
Let's dry
exhausted.
those suckers off.
All right, to dry those suckers off. Hey, welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Woo! And make sure you get them. Wash your hands, as they say, as
Get
if
under your nail.
and you can charge anything more. But I'm very happy about it. I got to tell you, Ty, one of the things, it's not just you guys, not just because I switched, because I've been doing other things. We had our house insulated. I wrote to you, and you might have seen
of the underlying diseases that make COVID-19 so dangerous to people are a result of the pollution that's been in the air for so long. There was a Harvard study that came out just last week that showed a strong correlation between air pollution levels and the death rates in certain areas. So basically, the more polluted an area was, whether that's from the smokestacks, the coal pollution, or the pollution from highways, the cars that are driven there, the more likely the people are in that community to die of COVID-19. And they're actually using this study now to predict which parts of the country and actually which countries are going to need the most ventilators, because they can now predict basically which areas are going to get hit hardest by COVID-19 because they know what the existing pollution levels are. So, this is not the time to be rolling back environmental regulations that are keeping the air clean, when in fact we should be doing the exact opposite. We should be putting more regulations into place to get more clean energy produced and stop polluting the air.
Well, one of the things that we talked about last week on the show is folks going outside now, and I've noticed it. You've noticed it. You see pictures from all over the world where you can see blue skies. You can see horizons now. People in India can see the Himalayas off 30 miles in the distance, which they haven't been able to do. And I'm sorry, not 30 miles, but like 100 miles off in the
Yeah.
distance, which they haven't been able to do for
LA's
30 years.
clear.
Right. And we're all looking at this, and nobody wants industry to be shut down forever. But this is a lesson somehow that look at what we're capable of if we get smart.
Right. Yeah, it's a sad thing because it shouldn't take a pandemic to allow the world to have clean air. It's sad that the status quo before this was polluting to levels where people couldn't breathe, where you couldn't see in the distance. I mean, the World Health Organization estimates that 4 million people die every year as a direct result of air pollution. And what's going to happen is if we don't do anything right now to prepare ourselves, to prepare the economy for a cleaner energy future, when this all ends and we kind of go back to normal, all those industries are going to ramp back up. They're going to try to make up for some lost time.
Yeah.
So we are going to see even worse levels of pollution after this quarantining. And again, if we don't do anything about it, it's just going to be, the skies are going to be polluted again. People's respiratory systems are going to be impacted again. And we've got to be making steps toward a cleaner future, not rolling back.
And I'm wondering if it might even be worse, in addition to the rolling back the regulations, the lack of funding now for solar and for clean energy, and the lack of interest in electric vehicles at this point.
Yeah, so the clean energy industry actually has lost about 100,000 jobs as a result of the coronavirus, the quarantining, and the really sad part of this is we had such great momentum. Renewable energy generation was growing significantly. The residential solar installations are expected to drop by 40%. So because you can't have so much of residential solar installations are meeting the homeowners at the kitchen table to discuss with them exactly what the project looks like. That can't be done anymore. We're trying to do things over Zoom and things like that, but it's really hitting this industry hard. And unfortunately, the current administration just isn't interested in helping this industry out like they are helping out the oil and gas industries. You see their executives fly into the White House to have private meetings with the president, when they have, multinational corporations, huge, tens of thousands of employees. They're trying to get the same kind of small business bailouts as residential, and smaller solar companies that truly need this. And we must do our part to support these renewable energy companies that are working toward a better future, because right now they don't have the support of the administration.
We just have about a minute left here. You talk about this, of course, on theclimatepod.com, which give that man a ding. He does his own podcast. He's competing with us, but I'll let it go for now. I'll let it go. But very in like 45 seconds, what can your business do? What are you trying to do as we get out of this quarantine?
Sure. Yeah, Hero Power has made it possible for anyone in Illinois to support renewable electricity every time they pay their electricity bill and not pay any more for it. Both Mike and Peggy have joined Hero Power, which we absolutely love and so appreciative that you did. Basically, in less than 2 minutes, you can join Hero Power. 100% of your electricity consumption gets matched by renewable energy certificates. So that means your money goes toward a wind farm, and you don't have to pay any more for it. It's the exact same rate as ComEd. And we know that people right now are trying to, find ways to save money, and that's why we have made it possible. We'll take $25 off your first bill, so you'll get a $25 credit on that first electricity bill after you join Hero Power. If you join Hero Power at myheropower.com.
Well, let's leave it at that. Perfectly. Go to myheropower.com, sign up. Ty Benefiel, thank you so much. It's great talking to you again. Good luck with the energy. We all need it.
Thank you so much.
The Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki.
Haven't showered in days. Shaved my legs, but what for? There's only food on the menu. Don't get around much anymore.
A lot of us don't get around much anymore. Welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Before we get to our next guest, we are pleased here at the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki to announce that we've added another small farm to keep eating healthy. That's our campaign. A backyard patch herbs, and they get a ding here, are grown locally in Addison, Illinois. You might remember that we had Marcia on the show a few weeks ago. Marcia Lautinen Raleigh. She has dried herbs that have been turned into cooking blends, herbal teas, and herb flavored soup and bread mixes. There's no gluten, no salt, no preservatives. The herbs are grown chemical free, and they even provide recipes and other information on their website. Take advantage of Backyard Patch Herbs because they're part of the Keep Eating Healthy campaign. Now, another farm we have on board is Cedar Valley Sustainable Farm CSA. And I just got a pickup from them earlier in the week, and they're doing it safely. They had the masks on and the social distancing. Good for them. Like a lot of farms, they're adapting on the fly to meet the demands of the COVID-19 emergency, including online orders a la carte. If you have a CSA, there's no charge for additions. Now, for non-members, there's a $5 delivery charge on orders under $50. However, orders over $50 are getting free, safe delivery.
Nice.
So good for them. Yes. And another great farm is Prairie Fruits Farm and Creamery with a herd of about 75 milking does. And they
just got some goat cheese in this past week from them.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Okay, fantastic. They make seasonal artisan goat cheeses and goat milk gelato. Their goats are pastured, and the farm is certified animal welfare approved by A Greener World. They even have a stay-at-home gourmet survival kit. Keep on the Keep Eating click on the Keep Eating Healthy logo at MikeNovak.net to order from all of these great operations. Help us support them while they support us. Go to MikeNovak.net for more details. Welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We're very pleased. It was a very short time we had here, but I got a phone call the other day from a guy. How do you pronounce about 60 miles west of Chicago as the out again because but you're saying
just like us, just good safety precautions message. And then number two, to level the word translator.
Folks on the network, go green or
go home.
Welcome to the second hour of the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. This hour is brought to you by Bartlett Tree Expert.
Okay, it's not normal.
Not normal.
Not
That's
normal at all. And one of the things that's not normal, I can't tell you how busy it's great.
We need 3 hours, not 2.
We said ILCA has a member of the ILCA. It needs to be fair. It's not fair right now. I mean, the box stores can sell plants and have people wander in there, and the independent garden centers cannot. We need to fix that. This is it's the Wild West out there. Peggy, you were talking about a garden center you got an email from, and they've got something going, and they say people can come in, and then other garden centers we get say it's just delivery and pickup. So what the heck?
Yeah, no one knows.
So if you're going to do this, make sure that the independent garden centers can't keep up with. So that's all I'm saying about that. Okay. Real quick, it's welcome to Earth Day week. I hope you find a way to celebrate. One way you can do that is go to the Earth Day virtual mini film fest. Again, you just go to oneearthfilmfest.org and you can watch movies for free this week. Environmental films. They've opened it up. They've teamed with the city of Chicago. It's a great opportunity to get some free entertainment that's also smart entertainment, and you're hearing about it on the show. I just wanted to give an extra plug here. And I also really now, very quickly, rather, trying to talk too fast. My brain is way so far ahead of my mouth. Let's bring in Sean Ruane, brand new executive director for Advocates for Urban Agriculture. Let's give them a ding because they've got a program for farmers to help them out in this time of need. As you know, we're doing the Keep Eating Healthy campaign on the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. But Sean, it's a pleasure to meet you, even though it's only online right now.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Peggy. It's a pleasure to meet you as well virtually, and I look forward to meeting you in person sometime soon.
Yeah, we're going to have you on the show real soon. I know you wanted to get this in quickly. And in the next few weeks, I want to just sit down with you in a real lengthy conversation about Advocates for Urban Agriculture. So tell me about this. You got like a minute or two to get this out.
Okay, I can do that. So a few weeks back, Advocates for Urban Agriculture launched the COVID-19 Farmer Support Grant. And that really came out of having conversations over the course of a few weeks with local growers and food producers, hearing about their needs and kind of discerning ways that us as an organization could help to support them. We heard farmers talking about the loss of labor, the importance of making market adaptations if they're losing, sales due to restaurant and markets closing down, and the need for extra finances to support either income or PPE or food and farm safety supplies, kind of things in those categories. So, kind of putting our heads together as a team and figuring out how we could best support, we decided to launch this grant opportunity.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you what, Sean, hang on right there. We're gonna be right back. Stay on the phone. We're gonna be right back with you with Sean Ruane from Advocates for Urban Agriculture. And then the music goes.
There must be 50 ways to catch corona. 50 ways to catch corona.
Link there for the farmers grant. $500 and $1,000 doesn't sound like a lot of money. At this time, it's a lot of money, and it'll help keep some small farmers in business. Just paying a bill here or there can make all the difference in the world. So, Sean, thank you for coming. And as I mentioned before, the three of us will talk again very soon about your work at Advocates for Urban Agriculture.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Peggy. Thanks for fitting me in. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Great.
Thanks, Sean. Enjoy a beautiful Sunday. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye. Welcome back to the show. Okay, that intruded a little bit on this. We've got so much on this show, but boy, we have a couple of great guests on the phone right now. Actually, on the Zoom. You're not on the phone. These folks are on the Zoom machine, and I can see his cave
I
ceiling.
want to
I'm not.
find out what's on the ceiling there,
What's
Tom.
on the ceiling there, Tom?
Well, I'm in, we have a lot of fun at my home. So I'm in what we sort of call our wizard library. It's my office here, but also like a guest room. And so everything is made as if you saw I would say, a wizard in the forest at night in his library.
Cool.
On in here. Yeah.
You're a techno wizard. That's what you are, though. Actually,
you get a lot of likes on Facebook for that too.
He's the wizard of reuse, is what he is. He's the founder and CEO of Terracycle, which you've heard about on this show before. Tom has been here before, and also they have a new program called Loop, which I will have him explain in just a second. But now I want to go over to the other screen and talk to Marta Keane real quick and introduce her. She's recycling program specialist for Will County, Illinois. For those of you listening in other parts of the country, that's just outside of Chicago. But you have also been, well, you are right now on the Illinois Recycling Association board. Full disclosure, I was there a couple of years ago, and of course they're advancing recycling in the state of Illinois. But you're also chair of the Illinois Product Stewardship Council. So welcome, Marta. It's good to see you again.
Well, thanks, and a big admirer of Terracycle. Talk about
thank you so much.
all the time since your days of worm composting.
Oh man, that is a throwback, but absolutely, wow.
I know. See, this is why Marta's here with you, Tom, because she knows the history. She's been there. She's done this, and
she's old.
Quickly, and this is not just your general conversation about recycling, but it's taken us into COVID-19 and what's going on with recycling now, which might not be a pretty picture at the moment. But before we get there, Tom, explain well, Terracycle basically you guys have taken recycling to new levels never seen before. You want a CD recycled? Hey, there you go. We'll figure out how to get you want a cigarette butt recycled? We'll figure out how
you want diapers recycled? We'll figure it out.
That's
right. And this is what Terracycle does. Now, there's a step involved, which often you have to mail stuff to them. You have boxes that you provide for people, and it costs something, folks. Let me get the word in. And Marta, I'm sure you'll agree with this. Not everything in life is free. Certainly not recycling.
Absolutely.
At least not anymore. And it probably never should have been. But that's quick story. That's all about, Tom.
Yeah, we've been running Terracycle. We're proud that we're in 20 countries nationally, and yes, as you said, Mike, we can recycle just about everything. From dirty diapers to cigarette butts, and you name it, everything in between. And in some cases, these programs are free, funded by brands or retailers. And in some cases, if we don't have that funding, we would pass it along as a cost. So if you check out Terracycle, please start with all the free programs.
Mm-hmm.
There's many of those in the US and in your countries. We from there progressed on thinking, okay, if we're helping to recycle, how do we help then integrate waste back into products? That division started maybe about 5 years ago, also under the Terracycle brand. And that brings, ocean plastic into shampoo bottles, or all sorts of other things like rock and roll festival waste, you name it. In anywhere recycling previously couldn't exist, we set up some really exciting supply chains. We're even making next year a shampoo bottle made from fast fashion, and so on and so forth. And in all these cases, with large brands at meaningful scale. But we asked ourselves, as a company dedicated to recycling and making things from recycled materials, is that the answer to waste? And we realized, this was only 3 short years ago, that recycling is critically important, but it's only answering the symptom of waste. In other words, it's not challenging the idea of waste. In fact, recycling is the best way to manage waste, but the idea of waste has to exist for recycling to exist. So we took a deeper dive and wanted to understand, where does waste really come from? And where we landed was that it really came in the 1950s, which means it's only 70 years old as an idea. I'm sure there's people around who will remember a world, before really disposability came on. And the idea of waste is really predicated on this idea of single use, throwing something, using something once and throwing it out after a ridiculously short life. And back, before the 50s, and really, since the dawn of time, almost, things were made to be long-lasting, durable, reusable. I mean, that was so critically important. Just as a quick factoid, someone alive in the 1920s, if you look at an average female consumer, would have bought 2 apparel items per year and used them for 20 years before disposal. Today, it's 67 items per year, use 3 times before disposal. So it's not just our soda bottle, it's everything. So reuse. Now, what that means is that consumer product companies, and we're very happy that so far 400 major brands have joined into the platform. It's almost a brand every day. So from Tropicana to Haagen-Dazs and everything between, Tide laundry detergent, you name it, are creating now reusable versions of their products. So that means that your Tide laundry detergent, now there's a version in beautiful stainless steel. Or your ranch salad dressing, now there's a version in fantastic reusable glass, and or your Cascade dish soap in reusable plastic. And so the company, Walgreens, and then about 10 other retailers around the world, to integrate Loop into their digital stores first, and then their physical stores. So what that means is today you can go to Kroger's website or Walgreens' website, and you'll be diverted over to loopstore.com, which is the digital platform. And you can order all these products in reusable packaging. It gets delivered to you in a reusable container. And then when you're done, we pick it up. Sort of growth on Loop, because those online platforms, the first in the world, only launched in May. So this is all very fresh, is that all of our retail partners, starting with Kroger, are going in store. So Kroger on the West Coast will start having their retailers have a Loop section where you can buy these products in the store, brands, and as many retailers joining in.
Because this is a dream come true. Who's fighting against this? Is it the plastic manufacturers? Is it the beverage industry? Because the beverage industry has fought bottle bills throughout the United States for 50, 60 years now. Okay. Where are you getting blowback from this, if at all, Tom?
Gosh, it's a good question. So I just want to reinforce first what Marta said, is that Loop is a voluntary deposit system, but at a whole bigger level, right? We're not talking 10-cent deposits. That Tide container could have a $3 deposit. And actually, the really exciting thing is we're seeing within 90 days of purchase, and some products take longer than 90 days to consume, 97% return rates. This just reinforces deposits work, and forget being benevolent. Let's just be selfish about it. People want their money back, and that's absolutely okay to create behavior. Now, you asked Mike about pushback. Here's what's interesting. It's not the beverage industry. In fact, every major beverage player in the world is a part of Loop. Coke, Pepsi, Danone, Nestle on the non-alcoholic, but even companies in beer and spirits. So no worries there. On the packaging side, I would have thought there would have been, but in fact, some of the world's largest plastic packaging companies have invested into Loop. For example, Aptar, which makes, many folks may not know who they are, but they make most of the world's pumps and sprayers. They made an investment into Loop because they want to use this as a platform to develop the world's first reusable pump and sprayer. In fact, we've seen, so far, not really any substantial pushback. What I would say is the challenge of Loop is not that anyone's saying no. Brands love it because for them, they know they have to do reuse, right? It's one of their major priorities. But all other alternatives in reuse are incredibly complex, like deploying refill stations and so on. And these are...
You're going to have to hold that thought.
Sure thing.
You stick with us for one more segment, Tom?
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
All right. Tom Szaky. We'll be back with Marta Keane. It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Back to our conversation about recycling stuff in the age of COVID-19. First, however, we've added another small farm to the backyard. Patch herbs are grown locally in Addison, Wisconsin. Addison, Illinois. Hello. And it's our friend, Marcia, who's got dried herbs, and they've been turned into cooking blends. I tell you what, I'm going to be ordering some of this to make some
soup mixes. Yeah,
soup mix at home. Herbal teas, herb-flavored soup, and bread mixes. No gluten, no salt, no preservatives. The herbs are grown chemical-free. They even provide recipes and other information on their website. We're going to have a short time. This is going to go very fast here. One of the things that I've been worried about now for
that tends to be the type of objects that you just heard. Now, there are a huge amount of other objects in our lives, from our toothbrush to our plastic gloves. I mean, you name it, that today don't fall into that category. And they don't fall there not because they can't be recycled, but simply that it costs more to collect and process them than the results are worth. That's why what we do at Terracycle is we either find companies to fund it, to make it free to consumers, though they are paying behind the scenes, whether that's, say, Walmart doing car seats or Colgate, funding toothbrushes and toothpaste tubes, or we say, well, hey, if you want to pay for it yourself individual, you can, and you can buy a zero waste box or some other equivalent. The question then is, where does all the confusion come from? And it comes from that what is recyclable, in other words, what is profitable for garbage companies to recycle changes day by day and changes county by county. So you may move from time and there's no fundamental consistency. The easiest thing you can do as an individual, right, is buy things that your local recycling system wants and stop buying things that your local recycling system doesn't want. In fact, you should hopefully never need Terracycle and everything.
I'm with you there because I will never buy a tub this size of yogurt again in my entire life. I urge people not to do that. I also urge them to use your tap, your water. Get water out of your tap rather than, why are you hoarding water bottles? That's just nuts. And now we're at a point, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to move this agenda forward just a little bit. We're at a point where even some states are shutting down recycling operations right now. Marta, you've noticed that. Michigan is one of them, isn't it?
So the state of Illinois was very fortunate. Governor Pritzker immediately said recycling is essential. But we've seen other states that did not do that. And we've also seen some of the waste hauling industry, NWSA is an association, contacted the governor twice in Illinois and asked to allow landscape waste to go back into the landfill. We've had that ban since 1990. Yeah, and they've tried to say that they'd like to limit recycling. We have a couple of haulers who've gone out and said that if you know somebody in your home has COVID, then please place recyclables into your garbage. And there's not any science behind that. That's really working. These things are in an abrasive environment. They're tossed around in a truck. They're tossed around by equipment. And there's nothing saying that virus is going to survive all of that before they even get to where they get cleaned and made new products. And I don't know if, Tom, you want to talk about when things come in, what happens when you're refilling them.
Peggy, I'm going to ask you to mute your mic for a second because I think the dog is cutting into audio. So, Tom, we've got like a minute and a half here. So, we can't have a situation where things get harder to do during this. And you're saying that folks are going to worry about contamination. You don't think that's an issue right now?
Well, what's happening, and I think that's very important, is that we are right now scared. We are focused on health and safety as very appropriate. And in some cases, recyclers are very worried, whether justified on science or not, right, on the health and safety of their workers. And we do have to keep that paramount. I think the important thing, if we take a step back, is not necessarily to worry too much about what happens during COVID. It's going to be, nuts, and we will get through it. The question is what happens on the other side. And today we are, as people, buying way more disposable things as we live at home. Our volume of disposable consumption is extremely high, and most recycling systems around the world, not just in the United States, are not recycling right now for various reasons. So hold on to your recyclables as much as you can and wait for the system to get back to normal, and then start recycling and buy things that are recyclable.
That really makes a lot of sense. Good for you. You took the wrap-up side. We need to talk about this some more. Rick DeMaio weather coming up.
Going.
Are you in a cave, Rick? You're echoing really bad.
No, but I can go outside if you want. I could do that.
Well, it is a little echoey there. It does sound like are you moving and you've taken all the furniture out of your home? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm moving. I'm outside now. How's that, better?
Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Good.
Okay, much better. All right, so let's talk weather. So go on. What was that?
I just say it's a beautiful day, so you should want to be outside.
Well, yeah, but I'm up against the clock here. I'm teaching a bunch of classes, and I got to have my next part of my textbook finished by the 11th of May. And what did we decide to do in the month of April when you're supposed to stay in? Move, right? So I have nothing going on, guys.
You're like the rest of us.
But anyway, so go on.
Oh, I just got no. You go with what you were going to say. I'll follow your stream of consciousness. That's fine with me.
All right. So snow again on Thursday, 3.0 inches. That was the third heaviest snow of the year, after the Halloween snow and the Veterans Day snow. And Mike and Peg, I was doing some number crunching here because I love to play around with meteorological data, and we're so far up to 34.8 inches of snow for the year, which most likely is going to be it. All right, normal is 36.2. Was this anywhere near a normal winter in Chicago? I think everybody knows the answer there, right?
It didn't feel like it.
If you look at the amount of snow, right, if you look at the amount of snow that actually fell after the month or after the 1st of March and before the 1st of December, which is technically your non-winter months, it came out to 16.3 inches. So if you add up the snow we had in October, November, and March and April, it was actually almost 55% of the seasonal snow. So we're getting these snows now early and late, but overall the snow season is almost at or somewhat close to above normal, even though we didn't have much snow this year because we had a lot of, warm temperatures. But one thing I've been noticing, I went back and looked at, snowfall numbers all the way back to 1870, and out of the 20 snowiest Aprils, 7 of them have occurred in the last 15 years. Isn't that weird? 7 of them.
That is
so
weird.
one of the things that's interesting about a changing climate is when you get into the months of March and April, it is so difficult to try to take current weather patterns and teach students about a warming climate when they go, Mr. DeMaio, it snowed yesterday. So we almost have to go back to that highly variable stage of weather that we had in October and then also in the month of April. And then you start to talk about how this affects farmers and how this affects gardeners, because tomorrow, 80% of the time is when we get our last freeze, is on the 20th of April. And it looks like most likely we are probably done with freezing temperatures so far this month and hopefully this season in Chicago.
Well, I came out into the backyard last week and the water was frozen there. So you're saying we won't have that again?
Yeah, the bird bath has had a skim of ice on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally believe that, Peg, but it does look like the pattern gets a little bit more active. It doesn't look like we're going to get into these, polar surges and Arctic surges. I think we're definitely done with the snow, but the chances of getting a hard freeze where you're getting down to 28 degrees is probably less than 30%. So if people want to get out, and I know a lot of people are like going crazy by being inside, probably today, I know yesterday was beautiful, today just as good, and then much of the next 3 or 4 days was pretty good as well from a standpoint of getting out and into the garden.
And getting some sunlight.
All right, well, let's give us a forecast. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so weak cool front will come through the next few hours. Temperatures will probably fall back in the mid to upper 40s along the lakefront. We're right now in the mid 50s, so a little bit of a cool down. Back up into the mid 50s tomorrow, and then it looks like 60s on Wednesday after a cool day on Tuesday, and then back into the upper 40s on Thursday before we warm up again. So bottom line, upper 40s to low 60s, which is normal for this time of year, but I think we're done with the snow, and I think we're done with the freezing temperatures.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, Mr. DeMaio. We will. Good luck with the move. We will
good
talk
luck.
to you soon.
Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
All righty. I thank everybody. Of course, Hannah and Kayla. Until next time, go green or
go home and stay there.
Yeah, really. Keep washing your hands and put the mask on, okay?